Hey guys, we're back. How's
Hey
everybody doing
there.
this week? Y'all
Oh,
doing
doing
okay?
good. Yeah, I actually yesterday was at a meetup, um,
Oh,
a local meetup with do you know Coach Rose, AJ
Yes, I know
Carnivore
who she is.
Life?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
She's
she's
super
awesome.
cool. I watched her
She's
CAC
great.
score video. I know that. Um, and some others. I've
She
watched
lives
several.
near me. Yeah, she lives near me. She just lives in Tacoma. And so it's
Uh,
not like next door neighbors or anything like Dr. Baker. He's like literally down the road. But um, she has this is the second meetup I've been to with her. And it was nice. But my daughter, we made a mother daughter thing out of it. And we
oh,
went Friday, and it was at this place called Point Ruston, which is in Tacoma. It's on this little peninsula, and it's gorgeous. And there's a zoo there and aquariums. And so we went Friday, and then we spent the night, and then we Saturday morning was the meetup, and we did a walk in a cafe, met at a went to a cafe and chatted and talked and stuff. But Friday, um, I walked like my smartwatch. I walked like just shy of 15,000 steps, which for me is
oh
insane.
wow. That's pretty insane for me.
yeah, no
Even
Yeah,
in
kidding.
the
so
hospital.
that was
Yeah.
literally a lot of steps for me, and
Yeah.
so many of them are up hills and climbing steps because in the area where I live, very little is flat.
Mhm.
And some
Yeah.
places, the closer you get to the coast, the steeper things are. So that was actually quite an accomplishment for me to do that. And then even after we kind of settled in and we kind of hung out for a while at the hotel, and then we took another walk like at 9 o'clock at night along the coast, and it was really beautiful. And so, yeah, I got lots of steps in. And I do have a funny story though
Oh,
about my attempt so I brought my air fryer because I thought, okay, I'm just gonna cook meat in the hotel room, right? And we
yeah.
had a little kitchen area, and there was a meat market like up the hill, and so I got two beautiful ribeyes, and I brought so I was cooking one of them, and I'm at the little kitchenette area, and I'm going, okay, there's a smoke detector right there. I was a little nervous, right? So I have my extra parchment paper inserts, and I'm waving them like the whole like while it's halfway, try to keep the heat, let the heat dissipate, right? I was very successful, but halfway through, I got to flip it over. So when I pulled the container out to flip it over, it set the alarm off. Okay. And so then, of course, I'm waving it like crazy at the smoke alarm. And so I thought, okay, this is not going to work for the second half of this. So I took it over and set it on this table and cracked open a side window to let air in, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to be able to finish this far away from the smoke detector. Like maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes into it, I blew a fuse.
Oh man. Hey, question. Were you
Yeah.
using butter?
No,
Oh, you weren't
no,
using anything on it? Because
no.
I had that happen on vacation, and it was because I was cooking in the air fryer using butter. So I learned that I can't do that because the smoke
Well,
point is so low, I
Mhm.
mean,
right. I
it's
wasn't
lower
using
than
any
400.
butter. I wasn't using anything because it was a pretty fatty cut of meat on its own. And yeah, so when I finally like the TV was on, all of a sudden, off, I totally blew a fuse, the light, the TV off. So I'm like, okay, I guess the ribeye's done. And it was actually medium rare. It was beautiful. It was so good. But my daughter is just going, I can't take
Really?
you
Yeah.
anymore.
She's like, really,
She's
mom?
like, I can't with you.
Seriously,
Can't take
exactly.
you anywhere.
That's exactly what she said. I can't take
Oh,
you anywhere.
that sounds like
Oh,
what my daughter would say to me.
yeah. Yeah, but we had a good time, and yeah, but that was my attempt at trying to air fry in the hotel room. So lesson learned is
Yeah.
don't do it unless you've got a balcony
Mm,
Yep.
yeah.
and you can go out on the balcony and oh my goodness. But anyways, the ribeye itself was good. Oh, and so the second ribeye that I bought, I ended up not making, but I had it in the little mini fridge, so it's really nice and cold. And I thought, okay, well, on the way home, after the walk, I'm going to go to the grocery store and I'm going to get like a couple packs of frozen peas and just kind of just keep it cold on the way home. So we finished the walk, we finished everything, and we went to the car, and my stupid hydraulic trunk was stuck. I couldn't get into it. My purse was in there with my driver's license. The raw ribeye.
Oh, that's no good.
Yeah. And fortunately it was chilly out, so it ended up being okay. But yeah, so that was I had the two debacles with the trunk and then with all of them involving ribeye. It's good
Charlie,
to know.
Charlie says that's good to know for KPL. Do not attempt cooking in the hotel room.
Right.
I will be at KPL, guys.
Awesome. Well,
I'm
the good news is that the hotel room has a fuse box.
Huh?
The hotel rooms, they have a fuse box in it. So we were able to reset the fuse. So if you want to try it, don't plug it into the same plug near the TV. Make sure you know where the fuse box is. Open a window.
And it probably depends on what kind of air fryer you're using too, because mine, I have one of those Ninjas, like opens up. It's like the Ninja XL, it's Foodie or something like that.
Yes, I've got that.
It doesn't smoke as long as I don't use butter or olive oil. As long as I just do the meat and the salt, it does not smoke at all. That I've noticed anyway.
Yeah, mine doesn't.
Mine was smoking. I just think it's the vent, the heat that comes out of the back.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess it depends on what kind of fire. What kind of smoke detector too? Because some of them,
and the temperature. I notice it does the same thing in my house. Like I like to get a nice sear, so I do it at 450. But if I do it at 400, it tends to be okay. But I was doing it at 450. And
I usually do mine at 400, but sometimes it's not seared enough for me. Like sometimes I almost have to overcook it to get that good outside appearance that I like.
Yeah.
So
that's why I do my 450. Yeah. But at home, we keep ours out in the backyard. We have just our little table right up against the wall of the house outside our back door. And we keep it there all year round.
Oh.
Is it an
outdoor? Is it an outdoor model or is it just an indoor? Oh.
Huh. No. And there was one time this past year where I said we need to bring him in because the mechanism got too cold. But the only reason was because we left the tray inside the house overnight, and so the tray, the thing wasn't in there, and so the mechanisms inside had complete access to the cold air. There was nothing to protect it. So I think that's why.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's my story. Sorry, I hogged the whole,
okay. That's okay. All right, guys. So where did we end off? I think it was at the bad energy food section. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Page 170.
170. Bad energy foods.
Yeah. Yeah. You wanna take the first round, Carrie?
Sure. So she talks about foods that are bad energy foods, and I think we can all agree on these: refined added sugar, refined industrial vegetable and seed oils, and refined grains. And she discusses each of those individually. So one thing that she mentions here that I was like, she said that refined added sugar causes astronomically more deaths and disability per year than COVID-19 and fentanyl overdoses combined. Now, I'm not sure exactly where that data came from or how they determined that, but in a sense, it doesn't surprise me because, added sugar just, whether people want to admit it or not, sugar in general causes diabetes, and you eat too much of it, and then that's just what happens. And so I think all of these other things, and including COVID-19, are actually just complications of, you're diabetic and you gain the weight, and it's sort of that snowball effect with the metabolic issues. It's all of them. But I was like, wow, that's that was very surprising because you hear
Yeah.
so much more about the COVID and about the fentanyl. You know, you hear so much more about those two subjects. Well, especially the
Yeah.
fentanyl now, and but
Yeah.
yet, but I would be interested in like just seeing, and there may be a reference I didn't check. I should have, but I didn't.
I didn't see one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been helpful if she had maybe listed the diseases that she was using.
Mhm.
Obviously, diabetes is
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
but I don't know if she's including
I
other
mean, you
diseases
could
as
include
well.
so many in that really. But it
Mhm.
would also be a bit of a stretch, like I don't think you could get mainstream medicine to agree that sugar was the cause of these diseases. But as
Right.
we all know, I mean, if someone ultimately dies of a renal disease, chances are that was from diabetes, that was from sugar,
Mm-hmm.
but I
Yeah,
don't think they're
and
going to actually recognize that.
No, they
she
won't.
might have been including those things that are secondary to type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
And it maybe she's including Alzheimer's.
I mean, I would say you should, but
Well, and I do think that Alzheimer's is being commonly referred to now as type 3 diabetes. So I
yeah,
do think
Right.
there's actually, I think maybe they would go for that comparison more so than they would some of the others.
I mean, I don't think mainstream medicine would. That's
Yeah.
not what I'm getting from, being in the
Well,
hospital
that's true.
system.
You're out there in it. And
They're not associating that I mean, I'm not hearing anything about that at
yeah.
all. Like the only place I've heard it referred to as type 3 diabetes is in the ketogenic circle.
Yeah.
See, that shows how isolated I am in a sense.
Well,
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
definitely hasn't picked
Yeah.
and gotten into the mainstream
yeah,
medicine yet.
I mean, it's going to take so many years to work its way into mainstream medicine because the fact of the matter is they require so much evidence for that by the time they get that much evidence, a lot of people have already died from this, like
Well,
a
it's true,
lot
but
of
at the
people.
same time, I don't think they required much evidence, or they chose what evidence they required, because when you look back at, what we have now in place for dietary guidelines and everything, I mean,
Yeah.
the evidence, there wasn't any evidence. So it's
Yeah, but
like,
that wasn't done by medicine. That was done by the government.
true.
That's the difference,
Well, that part, but like, well, in diabetes though, with now in medicine, that's, and
Yeah.
who was it? Gary Taubes was talking about like the biggest mistake made in medicine was using insulin to treat both types,
Yeah.
because they're really two totally separate diseases.
Yeah, they should be considered two total separate entities. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
they're very, very much different,
I think people get them confused because they're
mean,
both called diabetes.
Mhm.
yeah.
And it kind of seems like it should be, maybe type 1 should be renamed something that is autoimmune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like not a lot of people realize that it's an autoimmune thing.
Probably not.
I mean, I don't think I did. I would love to look back at my nursing school notes and see if that's just something that I didn't get that was actually in the notes that I wrote,
Right, me too.
Mhm.
I don't remember
I don't remember that part.
really having it sink in that it was an autoimmune disease, because it was so connected with diabetes, because you got type 1 and type 2. So obviously they're related, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah, that's what one would
You don't need
think.
for type 1 or type 2.
I think early on, especially, I thought that type 2 could turn into type 1.
A lot of people think that, and I used to think that, because they would talk about your beta cells eventually burning out. Like
Yeah.
if you had type 2, and then your beta cells would burn out and it wouldn't produce enough insulin. And in reality, you're not producing enough insulin, but it's not because of your beta cells burning out. You're not producing enough insulin because you're just eating too many carbohydrates over a long period of time. And you just need more and more insulin to keep up with it. But
Well,
I
it's
mean,
really
I
like
didn't
too
realize
much
that.
insulin. It's like too much insulin,
Too
and it's
much
not
insulin.
functioning effectively, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
you have the resistance with it. And so you have to
Yeah.
pump out more insulin because it's trying to get your cells. Well, I know their whole body isn't insulin resistant. There's certain parts of it that get that way.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just interesting and the only thing that they have in common, well, they don't really have anything in common because it's not an insulin
They
problem.
have high blood sugar in common.
They have
That's
blood
about it.
sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
But the whole mechanism
Wow.
behind it is different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sure is.
Yeah. I
So.
mean, and then there's also diabetes insipidus, which is nothing like,
Nothing.
you know, it's like, why do they call this? Why don't they give these things totally separate names? They
Yeah, it
didn't
would be
ask
nice.
me.
And no
Yeah.
wonder the public is confused. I mean,
Yeah.
unless somebody just like does research and watches maybe some YouTube videos or some TED Talks or something like that, you know, and does some reading on their own, they're not going to know. And I don't know, establishment just doesn't really do anything or say anything to differentiate either. So people just don't know.
Yeah.
Just like people confuse ketosis with ketoacidosis, like we talked about before.
Even doctors.
Yeah.
I know a doctor, not my medical doctor, but I mean a doctor friend who actually got it mixed up when I was talking to him about it. And I was just like,
That is so disturbing to me.
That's very disturbing. Yes.
now he used to be a neighbor, you know.
I guess it's just because nobody really, I don't know, nobody really talked about the ketogenic diet back then or you know, ketosis, nutritional ketosis.
I think there was maybe a paragraph or a little blip. Hey, I know there's a little blip in the nursing school textbooks under epilepsy, from what I can recall. But it was just kind of like, this is something that can help with epilepsy.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember if it was actually in the textbook or if it was something that my instructor mentioned. But I remember learning that the ketogenic diet could be effective for seizures.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing I was taught about it, was that it could be for seizures. So, but all right. Yeah. So,
and then I do appreciate what she says. She's got this little grayed out section, or, you know, like a sidebar kind of section about no liquid calories. And although I don't necessarily totally agree with the whole calories premise, I mean, basically what she's saying is that you're drinking all this sugar and it, you know, and people are just drinking too much of it, and even things that they don't think of as being sugar, like the fruit juices and stuff like that, is really harmful, and it just causes your blood sugar to spike and causes all kinds of problems. So I really appreciated that. And then, of course, she does talk about alcohol, and she says that
right before that section she mentioned, I just kind of wanted to bring this out, that she says when a kid drinks one bottle of Coke, they ingest as much sugar as they might have had in an entire year if they were living 150 years ago.
What?
That's pretty stunning.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought, holy cow, that's crazy. And kids drink soft drinks all the time. So, okay, sorry, I just want to point that out.
No, but that's very valid, and it's disturbing when you think. I mean, I knew, of course, that
in a year,
sugar, but
in a year.
But yeah, I didn't realize it was that much of a.
Where was that at?
It's at the top of the gray area, like right where it says no liquid calories on 171. If you look at the paragraph above that, that's where
the last sentence where she says, "Consider this."
Oh my God.
Isn't that something?
That is crazy. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
But she did talk about alcohol like destabilizes blood sugar. So that's good to point out, because there's alcoholic beverages that are there's no sugar, there's 0 calorie. They're considered, even some people that are on like ketogenic diets can have like hard liquor and stuff because it doesn't have any carbs.
Mm-hmm.
But she said that they destabilize blood sugar, and in part by directly damaging mitochondrial function and generating oxidative stress, and should be minimized. And then, she said they should be minimized, but then she also later said that she just doesn't think that, doesn't really promote having alcohol at all, but she kind of gave some suggestions, right? Just in case people are going to do it anyways.
Yeah.
Or,
which I appreciate, especially the keto me would have appreciated that.
Yeah. And like on a special occasion, like last night,
Mhm.
for example, of course, this wasn't, but I mean, I went to a reunion, a school reunion, and with my state dinner, it was a splash of wine, but I did have some red wine with my state dinner. But that's very infrequent. I don't do that very often.
And I mean, I just believe in making your own choices as an adult. Your principles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your principles may, that you may tweak them over time a little. You may try to, if you're in a healthier state and you're metabolically more healthy, you may add in things on special occasions or whatever. I mean, I believe in living your life, but also at the same time, not having to have like a certain, cultural thing around food and around like all this garbage food just to have an enjoyable celebration,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Although Dr. Baker says if he's going to cheat, he's going to eat a piece of birthday cake.
I don't even like birthday cake.
He's not going to cheat with vegetables. He's going to have cake.
Listen, if I was going to just go all out on something, I would get a piece of carrot cake. And
that's a good one.
Favorite that carrot cake has always been my favorite since I was a little girl. My grandma used to make it for me, and she would make a homemade carrot cake. And there's nothing like it. But this birthday cake and stuff, it doesn't even look appetizing to me anymore. Like it looks like poison. And I think it's because of a switch I flipped in my brain to get myself to not want it, and then I think I would be disappointed if I ate it. It would just be like, ugh.
Oh yeah. But I used to, the Safeway near our house, they have like the individual, but they're big pieces.
Yeah,
the individual things of birthday cake, and their Safeway's birthday cake is a little bit more dense, just slightly more dense than others. And I used to go and I used to get one, and I would sit in my car and eat it.
Yeah, I think we all did that. Sometimes I get 2 pieces. I'd eat one in the car and then take one home.
Right.
I didn't do that, but I probably would have. I was just like too ashamed to even do it. But sometimes like my daughter wanted to pick up something at the store that she thought I would like to make me happy. She was a little bit of an enabler. She'd bring me a thing, and then I'd just sit down and eat the whole thing in one serving. And they're big, big pieces. But yeah, I feel like I really liked birthday cake a lot. And so I feel like for me, it would be probably a problem if I decided to try to eat some. I think it would start the avalanche of sugar addiction back again.
Yeah, and it would probably not taste anything like what you remember it tasting like.
That is true. Your taste buds are so different. Mine are.
I mean, if I like eat one of those peppers, those little, I call it little sweet pepper. I don't know what they're really called. The yellow, like the tricolor, but the little ones. If I eat one of those, I mean, it tastes like candy to me.
Yeah.
It's crazy how sweet they are.
Yeah. Wow. All righty. Anything else for that section?
Nah.
No, I think, she just talks about avoiding beer, which I think that goes, people talk about beer guts, so that's common knowledge. But anyway, just understand that alcohol is a highly addictive and toxic substance. So if you choose to drink, choose your sources and timing wisely, and I can't argue with that.
She does say that if you're going to drink, you need to make sure that you drink at least a few hours before you go to bed, because alcohol can affect your sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then we move on to refined industrial vegetable and seed oils. And Oh gosh, she did talk about, and this goes to show you have to really watch what you're buying. Like just because something says that it's organic or keto or just whatever, that you're best to just keep to the whole foods instead
Yeah.
of like whole food items, not the store, but keep to those items rather than things that come in a box or a package. And she was talking about, visiting her dad's, and she looked at the nutrition label on a bottle of organic almond creamer, and the second ingredient was refined sugar. The third was canola oil in a organic almond creamer.
Yeah.
Is that not? And most people would just see the organic label and not even, and they're like, oh yeah. And of course she said that he had made a trip to Whole Foods. and
Yeah.
that, so you think about if you buy an item at Whole Foods and then you pick the item up and it says organic or whatever on it, you shouldn't have to look at the label, but there you go.
Well, but or you can have organic sugar,
Yeah.
you can have
Well, what
organic.
organic canola oil though? That's,
I don't know
to
how
me,
they
that wouldn't
consider
be
them
right.
How in the
organic,
world could you have organic canola oil?
Yeah, I just don't see how that could be.
especially since with all the chemicals. She talks about the chemicals that they use to process them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that they require intensive industrial processes. She says they often involve extraction with chemical solvents like hexane, heating to over 150 degrees, bleaching, and de-waxing. So, how do they consider something organic if it's gone
Exactly.
through
I
all of
don't
that?
know. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Have you guys ever bought organic canola oil or organic vegetable oil? Or I don't even remember.
Mm-mm.
Like, honestly, I haven't
Maybe
been
it
eating.
wasn't like certified organic. I don't know.
Maybe
Like, I mean,
I was starting to.
I buy strictly organic stuff, and I make sure it's like the USDA certified organic. Um, like now for my whole household, just because I just don't want all the extra chemicals and glyphosate and
Yeah.
just,
Mm-hmm.
quite frankly, thousands of extra chemicals in the food. I think, well, at least we can improve the diets of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was starting to become aware of the seed oil issue long before I was familiar with the carnivore diet. So I probably maybe for 10 years before I even started carnivore,
Oh,
I was
really?
already, well, okay, I can say I was partially aware. So for actual cooking, I stopped buying those other oils and I was more focused on olive oil and coconut and
Mm-hmm.
avocado oil.
Oh, that's good.
Um, but I wasn't as particular about labels, like things like creamers. If you really look at the label of creamers, and I used to buy creamers all the time. It's like I'd buy sugar-free creamers, right? So of course they have artificial or they have, some alternative sweeteners in them. But having canola oil or soybean oil or all these other oils in these creamers is really like
And it's like,
common. It's not,
why?
Yeah.
you'd think
What
it's
can it
premium,
add?
right?
So Amy said that canola oil, the organic canola oil organic, the term organic means that the canola plants were cultivated without the use of synthetic pesticides, herbicides, or genetically modified organisms. And the oil was processed following organic standards, which often include cold pressing or expeller pressing methods.
Okay. Interesting. So can you even, so if you can get canola oil with the expeller pressing method, why do they go through these other methods with the bleaching and the
Right.
hexane and all of that?
And you still, I
So,
don't know that yeah. What they still have to go through to press it, even if it's that cold pressed, still to me doesn't, because it's not just that they're gently squeezing out oil. There's still a lot of processing they have to do because that stuff it doesn't have oil. I mean, you know what
yeah,
I'm saying? It's like
it's
a
not
manufacturing
oily.
oil. Yeah.
So,
So it's still highly processed and manipulated, even if it's cold pressed.
and what the heck is a canola?
I know. That's a valid question. What is a canola?
I
Other than
remember
an oil.
hearing where it came from, but I can't remember right now. Let's see.
Okay, now I'm going to look it up. What is it? Oh, it's a plant. So let's see. Oh, it's rapeseed.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. I literally just Googled canola oil and I found this thing. It says, what the heck is canola oil?
Well, I looked at
rapeseed.
what is canola. It brought up rapeseed. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is now. Let's see. Yeah, rapeseed oil. Canola oil is a food grade version derived from rapeseed cultivars, specifically bred for low acid content. It is also known as erucic acid rapeseed.
Okay. So it's from the brassica plant family, which includes mustard, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and cauliflower. Well, we all know how many toxins those brassicas have in them.
True.
Carcinogens, all sorts of other stuff. So interesting. So it's from the same family as the brassicas.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Oh, in this little article that I pulled up, it says the healthy oil from this crop is consumed all over the world and number 3 by volume among edible oils. Wow, this person is completely unaware.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's
compensated.
By the U.S.
Canola. Canola was originally a trademark name of the Rapeseed Association of Canada. The name is a portmanteau of can from Canada and ola from oil. So it's like Canadian oil, basesically.
Well, I can see why they didn't just keep calling it rapeseed, because that's a terrible name.
That's disturbing.
Although you can buy.
You want me to get you some rapeseed oil while I'm at the store?
But you can buy rapeseed oil. There's sometimes the label still says that, but interesting.
Charlie said we should get some organic water.
Organic water. Good luck. Is there such a thing? Organic would be pure, I'm assuming, with no pesticides, with no medicine byproducts. Yeah. If you go look up the quality of your water, which she brought up in one of the previous chapters, right? Didn't we look it up?
What? I'm sorry.
Your local water isn't really that good.
Oh, no.
All right.
Yeah.
So Dr. Berry's been telling us for years that we need to get a Berkey or a, what's the other filter?
Reverse osmosis?
Yeah. But that stuff is so expensive.
Yep.
It is.
I haven't done that yet.
Yeah. But again, she talks about the seed oils are cheaper to produce because of farm bill subsidies. So, talk about that all the time.
Yeah. So. And she says, since 1909, our consumption of soybean oil, which is the most popular seed oil, has increased by 1,000 times. It is the largest source of calories for people in the United States, more so than beef, pork, and vegetables. Now,
wow,
consuming enough of just oil to offset any like solid foods you would be eating, that's just crazy. I mean,
well, if they look at calories, I mean, you're talking about, 9 calories versus 4. And this, I think it's just that it's in everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that's what she's getting at. But I mean, when you see some of these statements, it kind of hits you, because like I had noted a few in here, and I was just like, wow, it just surprised me is all. I mean, I know for one thing, I didn't realize the soybean oil was the most consumed. I mean, I know that seed oils were just in everything.
I tell you what's in everything is that daggone sunflower oil. Or sunflower lecithin, or I mean, there's sunflower like sunflower oil and the like is in everything. Like every bottle of anything that you have in your refrigerator, unless you're actually looking and reading labels and trying to avoid it, probably has sunflower oil in it. And
I remember
I'm sensitive to that.
trending in that direction because it seemed like it was maybe 10 years ago or so. All of a sudden, these sunflowers, nut butters came, or seed butter came, and things were kind of trending in the sunflower direction. So I think that it does, the trends change with these seed oils.
Somebody must have said it was good or something.
Right.
You know? There must have been a study.
Probably.
Yeah, a study.
Yes. All right. So we got refined grains. It's interesting with her. So she's, there's a lot of stuff she recommends that we don't eat, but I think we all agree on the grain area, the grain topic, because she doesn't recommend it at all.
I thought she recommended some grains, but not
refined,
like tortillas, or she doesn't recommend stuff like that. But I thought like homemade breads and stuff, I thought she had some kind of exceptions to that.
On page 175, at the very end of that paragraph, the very first paragraph, she says, I do not recommend whole grains either.
Okay.
So I think that
I must have dreamed that one up.
Well, I think that she's doing the same thing with the grain category that she's doing with like the alcohol category. Like if you're going to do it,
make it at home, like homemade, sprouted and all that.
Well, Carrie, I mean, the beginning of this chapter does look like she's recommending, because it says a whole grain is a type of grain that has all of its main parts, bran, germ, and endosperm. A corn kernel, an individual grain of brown rice, and a wheat berry are examples of whole grains, and no part of the whole grain has been removed. The bran is the outermost layer, and blah, blah, blah. And so she's talking about has B vitamins, minerals, and it sounds like she's recommending whole grains in the beginning of the chapter.
That's what, okay, so I wasn't hallucinating or losing my mind.
No, because then she goes on to say that since most of the vitamins are removed when the bran is removed, manufacturers will often enrich a refined grain product with a synthetic version of vitamins and minerals. And as fiber is removed with the bran during refining, manufacturers may also add back in refined fiber products like inulin and pectin. And then she goes on to tell why ultra-processed grains are bad for health. But I think it was just the kind of like implying.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised when I read that sentence that she said that she doesn't recommend whole grains either. So, yeah, but she's providing a ton of information about why whole grains are better than the refined grains.
Yeah. So I guess if you're going to do it right, but don't do it.
That kind of, she just barely slid that little sentiment in there, because then she goes on to show her good energy swaps for the grains.
Yeah.
So like you could easily miss the fact that she says she doesn't recommend them at all.
Yeah.
So
and I mean the good energy swaps aren't grain. I mean, so they're not like the white bread is. She's not recommending a bread made of wheat. She's recommending like nut flours, coconut flour, stuff like that.
She's recommending almond flour. I'm just waiting for her to come to terms with oxalates and lectins and all these other things. Those some of these substitutes are just so inflammatory. But she does recommend other things. Sweet potatoes cut lengthwise and baked can make a bread alternative. So that's at least whole, right?
Or egg wraps. I had used those in the past.
I have used those too.
And I saw a video lettuce.
Yeah, me too. I saw a video and it was titled like never eat bread again or something like that. And they were making a little recipe with sweet potato and egg, and they made like it almost looked like a little cornbread out of it. And I thought, well, that would be good. Like if you ever, want or if you just wanted to make that for your family or somebody who you want to do better for, but you know, it looked like it would be better anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's better. It's better because it's still starchy and sweet, but it doesn't have the grains, which are very highly
Yeah,
inflammatory.
the grains are so inflammatory. I think
Yeah.
grains and dairy and sugar are like the big three. You know, like you could refine your diet all you want, but if you get those big three out, you know, and then you can try to add dairy back in and see how you do. But
Oh, and the seed oils, don't forget those.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I try to make my big three and it turns into the big four.
It's the big four.
It's the big four for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and some people can handle the dairy. Other
That's what I was
can't.
saying though. Like,
Yeah.
if you are having a reaction to something, those are the most likely suspects. You know,
Right.
They're not necessarily guilty, but we're going to put them in the lineup, okay?
Yeah.
And
Had to
then
ID them.
maybe after we get you to, you know, take them all out, then we can add back the least likely to be guilty one, which would be dairy. We'll add him back and see how he does in mainstream society.
I tried it. It didn't go well for me. Had to take dairy back out of my life.
Yeah, I don't do well with most liquid dairy at this point. Now, if I have a little bit more gut healing, perhaps down the road, I have had other people tell me that, you know, if I heal my gut, I should be able to handle dairy. But that remains to be seen.
My gut did great with dairy after it healed, but my sinuses, no. It really messes up my sinuses.
Yeah.
So
it does make my nose run when I eat it. Well, I'll say not all dairy, which about the only thing I generally will eat, and it's a couple times or 3 times a week, is Greek yogurt, full fat Greek yogurt, Cabot's brand. It's the best I've found out there.
Yeah.
And it's the plain full fat. And it will make my nose run a little bit when I eat it, but it doesn't bother my stomach or anything like that. But yeah.
What I really loved was I would get those little tubs of cream cheese with the I guess they had like chives or something in them, and I would put a little bit of that on top of my steak. Oh my gosh, it was so heavenly. And I'm like, yeah, this is carnivore, you know, but my body said, nope, not for you. It's not.
Isn't there like 5 carbs in cream cheese?
I don't know.
I think there's about 5 carbs and a couple tablespoons of cream cheese. Yeah. There's more than one. Yeah. I mean, and I haven't looked at.
And I rarely did it, but it was just the fact that like, it was that little treat, you know, it was something I really looked forward to because I love cream cheese. And my body, every single time I would do that, I would have yeast symptoms.
So. Yeah. Wow.
It's like, dadgummit.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk a little bit about some of these things she brought up here. She talked about that many of the additives in American ultra processed food are outlawed for use in other countries, and then she brought up a bunch of the examples. So we know about potassium bromate, you know, the dough conditioner, which is, I mean, how much potassium bromate have we consumed over the course of our lives when we were eating bread? I
didn't know about potassium bromate. You said we know about it. I did not know about it.
Well, we've read about it before.
Never heard of it.
Okay, so now we know about it. But yeah, it's a dough conditioner that's not allowed in many other countries, but in the U.S. it's fine. It's carcinogenic in animals. Possibly in humans. It leads to free radical based oxidative damage to the DNA. Yeah, it's really bad. But then the dyes, it was really interesting what she talked about for the dyes. So she talked about red 40. Synthetic dye made from petroleum. And it's thought to have neurotoxic effects through contributing to oxidative stress to the brain. I mean, my gosh, how many things that the kids eat have red dye 40?
Oh,
and
yeah.
All these.
I had a reaction to that as a child. Like I would get
Really?
headaches every single time I would drink any kind of Kool-Aid, like red Kool-Aid, Hawaiian Punch, anything with that red dye in it, I would get a headache.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
Amy said Philadelphia cream cheese has less than 1 carb per serving.
Okay, good. So you get
How
the
big is
clean.
a serving? You have to watch
Like
out
a
for
couple
that because
I think
tablespoons,
it's
I
a couple
believe.
tablespoons.
Yeah, I think it's a couple
Okay.
tablespoons.
Yeah.
because I'm a cream cheese lover too, but I haven't had it in a long time. But I
The
love it.
last cream cheese we got, we found in the back of the fridge the other day and we threw it away, and I think it had more carbs, so it must not have been a really good clean
Yeah.
variety of it. But she talks about, along with several other artificial food colorings on the market, the red dye is manufactured in processes that include many toxic chemicals like formaldehyde and have been shown to be contaminated with cancer-causing substances like benzidine. And she said red 40 alone has been linked to aggressive behavior in children, autism, and ADHD, and is thought to aggregate mental health problems. And then she lists off all these different things. And of course, she says never eat food with red, blue, or yellow in the ingredient. And she talks about some alternatives. And then some other
there's one item on that list that I ate a lot of, and that was Flaming Hot Cheetos. I ate those things a few years back. Oh God, yes, me and my son both ate. We would eat.
Oh,
we could
Lord.
go through a bag of those things.
Lord, that don't even look like food.
But
that
I mean,
color, it's just like warning.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that she talks about it creating linking to aggressive behavior in children, but how does that translate into them as teenagers? And I think about these things like mass shootings, and I know we suspect too that they might be from the SSRIs, but they're also like grow up on this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, like, if the study
or
was
low
done.
fat eating or junk food eating, lots of, just a bad diet in general, because, they're again, their parents are told, I mean, kids don't think too much about nutrition, or teenagers don't, but I mean, the parents are told, the red meat is bad. If you're going to have meat, eat lean chicken, blah, blah, blah. And so, and they give their kids all this stuff, and of course all the seed oils and all of that, and the food has just gotten worse and worse throughout the years, and they've the fat consumption, red meat consumption, all of that, butter, all that stuff has gone down. And so I think a big problem is they're not getting enough healthy fats for their brains, and their brains just aren't working right.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, probably not. So I mean, diet seems to go back to is the root of all the problems, And I mean, if their diet was good, then maybe they wouldn't need the SSRIs.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where buying your family who is eating normal, just standard American diet stuff. This is where buying them organic food can actually help, because with organic food, you're not going to have all the added dyes and stuff. So, I mean, if I can just at least get a basic level of like, this is our starting point kind of thing, and then maybe we can improve from there. I mean, wish I could have started this years ago, but I was just ignorant, I just didn't have the information. So
we didn't know.
Yeah. We were all ignorant. We didn't know.
Susan says those ingredients are banned in England, and they were talking about ADHD being linked to red and blue food dyes back before her son was born in 1983.
That long ago, they were already talking about that?
Wow.
What is wrong with this country?
I don't know that I heard about them that long ago, but I mean, I remember there being controversy, and that they had talked about taking the red dye off the market. And as a matter of fact, we might can look this up. I was thinking that they had eliminated red M&Ms. They
started using a different kind of dye. It's not, hold on just a second.
I mean, I think there's red M&Ms back again, but they had taken the original.
But I think red dye removed, maybe. I don't know what to look up here. I know what you're talking about, Carrie. They took away one of them. Let's see. All right. Well, so there's a red number 3 now. I think red 40 is banned in the United States. That's the one you're talking about. That's the one we had when we were growing up. And it said it was primarily due to studies showing that these dyes may worsen the symptoms of ADHD in children and have been linked to other health problems such as migraines and hyperactivity.
So it's been
Oh,
banned in the United
wait a
States?
minute, wait a minute. Hold on,
I
hold
don't
on.
think
I'm wrong.
so.
I'm wrong. It says,
Last
however,
year-
as of now, red 40 remains approved by the FDA for use in accordance with its regulations. So what was it that was banned? Because I remember something being banned like in the 90s or something.
Yeah.
Well,
Me
this
too.
little clip I see here, when I look it up, it says M&Ms and Skittles no longer contain the red 40, but it's still found in other products.
Huh.
So they must have done something.
Maybe they did, like, you know how companies kind of, before they're told, they say, okay, let's change our,
Formula.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So apparently now, let's see. There's an article here that says this is the title. I don't know if it's clickbait. It says, "Is red food dye made from bugs? Where did M&Ms go in the 1980s?" I heard somebody say that they do use bugs for the shell coating in M&Ms and Skittles,
I
but
don't know about that.
I haven't looked into it.
This says that in 1990, the FDA banned red 3 from use in cosmetics, topical drugs, and skin care products after studies showed that it caused cancer in rats when ingested. I can't talk. But, however, red 3 is still allowed in food. That makes no sense. Why?
Wow.
So this here says red. Okay, so red food dyes have long been subject to controversy, and that continues to be the case to this day. Although red 40 and red number 2 are artificial dyes, there are also naturally occurring food colors exempt from FDA oversight that are commonly used. These include carmine, which is derived from the cochineal insect. It's also sometimes listed as E120 in the ingredients list on packaging.
Natural flavors.
Natural. The cochineal insect is found in South America and Mexico. It is crushed to obtain a bright crimson dye, and its use dates back centuries. It takes about 70,000 insects to make 1 pound of the dye.
And why do we need our food to be red? Like, is red even appetizing? Like, when I look at something red, I don't think, oh, that I'm hungry now, you know?
Right.
Need some of that red.
So if you see E120 listed on the ingredients, that is from crushed bugs.
You are eating bugs. You are eating the bugs.
I wonder about, remember the vanilla? It was like, I think it was called like natural flavors or something like that, or vanilla, but it wasn't actually vanilla. And they said it was like from the glands of some sort of, I don't remember what animal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was going on around on the internet for a while. I don't know if it was legit or not. Natural
surprised me.
flavors.
I'll stick with my red meat.
It was like from a beaver or something like that.
Oh my God.
All right.
Oh,
are you
yes.
guys
Okay. So,
yeah.
So it was castoreum, natural flavors, and castoreum. And it says it's from, it was from a fluid from the sex gland of beavers.
Yeah. Charlie confirmed that too.
What on earth?
Wow.
What was that used for?
Huh?
What was that used for?
Natural flavors in foods, evidently.
Dang. That's crazy.
And that's currently what's being used.
Okay, castoreum is a natural substance that comes from the scent glands of beavers and platypuses. And let's see here. It says castoreum has been used as a flavoring in food and as a fragrance in cosmetics and soaps for over 80 years. The FDA considers castoreum to be generally recognized as safe. It says castoreum is used as a flavoring in frozen dairy, gelatins, puddings, and non-alcoholic beverages. It can also enhance the flavor of raspberry or strawberry flavorings. Let's see. It has been used as traditional medicine for
Sorry, I just-
centuries.
read what
Charlie.
Charlie's
Read Charlie's comment.
How did we discover this? Is what I'm wanting to know.
This is
too.
Oh,
So
Lord.
it was
like,
Was this
really?
a lonely man that was camping out by the river or what?
right.
Oh, vanilla. Oh, there's two beavers mating
Oh,
over
there's a
there.
beaver. I made friends with a beaver. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness, the tangents we get on.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Amy gave us some more information about the crushed bodies of the insects too. So yeah, so you got to look for more than just the E120 on the label.
Where do you want
apparently.
me to start on hers? Let's see.
Crushed bugs, crushed bodies of cochineal insects. Okay, was there one from above that we missed?
That's what I was looking for. I didn't.
They for sure use big. Okay, I think that's okay. It is commonly found in foods and cosmetics and is listed as carmine, cochineal extract, and natural red 4 shellac. Interesting. This is secreted by the lac bug. Okay. And there's another following that with some more information. It's used as a food glaze or coating in products like candles, fruits, and pills. Ooh. It may be listed as shellac or confectioner's glaze.
Why? So bizarre.
Well, because everybody likes to eat things that are shiny, I guess. It makes it look appetizing. But shiny is not natural necessarily, unless it's fat. Fat can be shiny. Butter can be shiny. Oh.
So, Amy, you can't see all the messages because you're probably like if you're on my channel or her channel, you're not going to see the ones on the other two channels. But we have like a running, like we have all the messages in one section. So we just kind of pull up the ones that are, something that we want to add to the discussion, basically.
Yeah, we try to pull in as much as we can as we go so that everybody can see them regardless of which channel you're looking at. So, okay. We got one more section to get through this blasted chapter.
Let's do it. Let's get over
This is the part that drove me the most crazy too.
Oh, Lord, the rules. The
rules. Yes. So she talks about managing glucose through diet for energy. I don't know, Kim, was there anything in this first part of it that you wanted to highlight?
I don't really remember. Honestly, I would have to look it over.
I mean, I think we all
has been haunting me. Like, I just want to get it over with.
I know.
Well, I think we all understand that glucose is not good energy. We pretty much have established that. But so then she gets over to strategies to keep post-meal blood sugars under better control. And that's a lot of these are the rules that Leanne was.
How many rules does she have here? She has 9 rules to apply.
Yeah, let's just go over those. That'd be good.
To keep your blood sugars more stable, because she does talk about erratic blood sugars being really bad.
Yeah.
For which we know. And so the first one is don't eat, quote unquote, naked carbohydrates. Naked carbohydrates are carbohydrate predominant foods that are eaten alone, like a banana. And of course, we don't eat bananas, of which 92% of calories are from carbohydrates or other fruits. Pair those carb-rich foods with healthy protein, fats, and or fiber to slow digestion increase satiety, and reduce the influx of glucose in the bloodstream. So, for instance, research shows that eating 3 ounces of almonds, which I wrote next to it, oxalates, but the carb-heavy meal could significantly lower the post-meal glucose elevation. So that's our first rule: is basically don't eat carbohydrates by themselves.
So I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, so for my children, the ones who would be still willing to listen to my advice, which might be one of them, these are maybe rules I might consider to, kind of implement into their more normalish standard diets. So
yeah, and if they're old enough, like yours are, that they kind of they've already got their mind. Yeah, they'll probably make a lot of their own decisions. And
the teenagers,
these are things you can encourage.
Yeah.
And make available for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. All right. You want to do number one? Someone want to do number 2?
Yeah, I'll do it. Sequence meals for optimal metabolism by preloading with low glycemic foods. So basically eat non-starchy vegetables, fat, protein, and other fiber before the higher carbohydrate part of a meal to lower the post-meal glucose spikes. And like nearly every restaurant suggests, you should avoid bread and chips before your meal. Those will spike your blood sugar, which can lead to an increased hunger, which is probably what the restaurant is counting on. They probably know this. One study said that consumption of about 20 grams of protein and 20 grams of fat about 30 minutes before eating carbohydrates significantly decreased post-meal glucose elevation in both non-diabetic and insulin-resistant individuals. Which, okay, so I get this, but her thing, and then also the glucose goddesses thing of where they say like eat vegetables first. Like I would think you would want to eat your protein first.
Yeah.
That didn't make a lot of sense to me.
Unless
they're saying eat vegetables, then eat protein, and then eat the higher carb thing.
I think they say that because of the meat, of people eating less meat, maybe, and you want to make sure you get your vegetables in. And so if you eat your meat, you might be too full for the rest of it, which that's what I did last night at the reunion. I had a big, fatty, beautiful steak. They did a great job at that. But I mean, that was my main thing that I ate. And I will confess, I had a little tasting of some macaroni and cheese. But I mean, that was all I ate. And they had dessert and everything. But once I ate that big, giant piece of steak and just that little bit of macaroni and cheese, I was done.
So what I was thinking was that you know how they say that the fiber from the vegetables like kind of feels it kind of lays like a barrier in your intestines where like all the sugar doesn't just immediately get absorbed into your or into your bloodstream, which I only partially buy that. It's kind of always sounded a little weird to me, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you focus on the protein and the fat first, you're not getting as nearly the sugar as if you're eating the veggies that are gonna, the carby veggies. But so she recommends, but salad with some protein before eating a starchy meal, egg, chicken, and cheese. So she basically says order the salad first, ask the waiter not to bring the bread or chips. And let's see. Oh, and she says to start with the vegetable, like when they bring your plate. Start with the vegetable, then eat the protein. I would start with the protein.
Yeah, that's what I've always thought was best, was to start with the protein, because if your body is digesting, I mean, I know it doesn't work like in a isolated thing like that, but I don't know, it just made more sense to me. And I also have seen on my CGM in the past that my CGM has shown me that, like, if I were to eat the protein first, I would never get very much of a spike from, like, if I added in some green beans, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, it may be like you said, Carrie, that the people that are recommending to eat the veg first are coming from that, oh, well, the veggies are full of good nutrients and you don't want to miss out on your nutrients and your fiber by eating your fat and your protein first, but they're coming from a completely different perspective.
Yeah.
And so that's probably why they're doing it. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and
And
she
I
said,
like to be open to like the fact that other diets can work. And so I like to be open to just learning that and learning that, you know, not everybody's coming from a carnivore perspective, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the veggies first still doesn't make sense to me, even if you were coming from that perspective. Like, even if you're coming from like a ketogenic place, you know.
Right.
yeah, I don't think so either. She talks about eating a handful of nuts, a hard-boiled egg, or some chopped veggies about a half an hour before sitting down to a meal or going to an event. I see. This is where her little rules start to
Really?
bug me.
Huh.
Yeah, it's like I don't. That's why I like the way I eat, because it's so easy. I don't want to have to keep like, okay, it's a half an hour before I'm about to eat.
Can you
I'm gonna-
imagine? Can you imagine? I mean, being like, well, let's see. How about what am I going to eat 30 minutes before we leave to go to the restaurant? Well, nothing. Just go.
Or our ancestors were looking at how the sun was aligned and the length of the shadows, and so they could eat their nuts before they ate their kill, it just, I don't know. It just was, I don't know.
Yeah. And it's
But
like,
she's
okay,
also, I mean, I believe what it is there again, she's coming from the perspective of people who are going to eat starches.
right.
And
if you're going to eat them,
yeah,
this will probably help you not eat as many and not eat any of the bad stuff that's going to spike your blood sugar. But I tell you, get to the restaurant, if there's like a 20-30 minute wait to get seated, you better have pop another hard-boiled egg. Yeah. I know I should be so. Okay, so she says eat earlier. Okay, the same meal. This was interesting. She said,
I thought so.
exact same meal will likely cause a lower glucose spike if it's eaten in the morning instead of late at night. Our bodies are naturally more insulin resistant at night. So in a sense, we get more bang for the buck by eating carbohydrates earlier in the day when we process them better.
Now, see, other people say always have a heavy protein breakfast. Like, it's probably people more in the ketogenic space, but they say make sure if you're going to have carbs, have them later, have them at lunch. And I think it's Dr. William, the wheat belly guy.
Yeah,
William
Dr. Davis.
So I think he's the one that says, if you're going to have some carbs, have them at lunch. He says, eat a lot of protein in the morning.
Is that for energy that he's saying that, or for blood sugar?
It has something to do with the fact that you're fasted, and then, I mean, I don't know if it was so that you get the most bang for your buck on the fasting and you don't just like wreck it right away. I don't remember the rationale behind it.
I think part of it too is just so that you won't get hungry so quickly, because of protein rich, protein and fatty breakfast, like bacon and eggs, for example, will fill you up and you won't want anything else for a long time either. But I'm not sure if that's his logic or not. I used to follow him and I really like him. I've read his books, but that part doesn't ring a bell with me as to why he suggested that.
So this wasn't in one of his books. This was on like a recent podcast that I watched, and he's kind of drifting away from the whole like wheat belly thing into more of, like just more of like a diet tip kind of, like the same type of stuff. But although, let's see here. Well, you guys go ahead. I'm just going to look at it.
Okay. You want to do number 4, Carrie?
Yeah, she talked, and this I do agree with, tighten the eating window. So if you eat in a narrower window during the day, it leads to lower glucose and insulin, which I was kind of thinking that that was part of what we were talking about before, where some people recommend the protein and stuff first. But she calls this time restricted feeding, involves eating all of your food and calories for the day in a limited window. And she said that there was a study that when 11 overweight non-diabetic individuals practiced TRF, time restricted feeding, for just 4 days, where all calories were eaten in a 6-hour window, they significantly lowered fasting glucose, fasting insulin, post-meal glucose peaks, and mean glucose levels compared to when they ate the exact food over a longer 12-hour window. And this sort of falls to me like when our ancestors would have eaten too. We would have eaten in a very narrow window. I mean, I don't think it was breakfast, lunch, dinner, on schedule. It was, I guess I just always imagined that they ate in the late afternoon, but I don't know that. But that's just what I always figured, that the tribal, they might nibble on a little bit of, of some leftover or something, maybe when they got up, and then they would just go do their thing all day, whatever they were doing, and then, work, laundry, whatever, I don't know. And then they would, come back to the camp, and then they would eat. That's just kind of what I figured. The women would kind of be preparing the food all day, and then, so that's my theory on their routine.
You got your picture in your head of how it worked. So, I don't know.
But that makes sense to me. Limiting.
Yeah, that's something that we agree with, is to, basically intermittent fasting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what we do.
I think probably calling it time restricted fasting is probably a little more, people don't like
Time restricted feeding.
Or feeding, I'm sorry, instead of intermittent fasting. See, if it's time restricted feeding, it just sounds tamer or something. Like, people freak out over the word fast.
Right.
For some reason.
Right. All right. Were you still looking for what you were looking for, Kim, or?
Oh, I'm just trying to, I'm kind of doing a half and half. I can't find it. It was in a podcast.
Oh, okay. All right. You want to catch number 5?
Sure. Get my glasses on.
Spectacles.
Yeah. So number 5, avoid consuming liquid sugar. Any sugar that is derived or delivered to the GI tract in a liquid form will be absorbed fast, potentially causing glucose spikes. So basically, liquid sugar sources, such as soda, juice, drinks, and juices, and frappuccinos, sweet teas, alcoholic beverages, all that jazz, smoothies, especially. I'm sorry. That was her exception. That was her exception.
She says the exception. She loves her smoothies.
And I'm just like, no.
I'm like, same thing. Same here. I'm like, really?
I mean, I would love a smoothie too. Honestly, I think it would taste good. But I don't think it would be good for me.
Well,
she said a well-balanced blended smoothie filled with vegetables, fat, low glycemic fruits, and protein. And she said they can be consumed without an appreciable. She said they can be consumed without an appreciable glucose rise, which, but what about the fructose? I mean, you're not going to be able to measure much of a glucose rise from fruit because, it has some glucose, but not primarily.
That's true. It's kind of a misrepresentation of what your body's getting there.
And they say that fructose can glycate 7 times as much as glucose.
Yeah, and that's a main cause of fatty liver.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I certainly wouldn't be wanting to drink all that fructose every morning. But that's just me.
No.
Yeah.
Well, and she does have recipes, which are later in the book. And so, perhaps I'm just going to peek at one of her recipes just to see if she has like only a little bit of.
So also, I do want to add that she also says no to artificial sweeteners. So
yep, she sure does.
I know she does. Okay, so like she breaks her.
microbiome, hormones, and all that.
She brings up her page 309 and 310 for her smoothies. And she has another one on 307, which is like full of spinach and all sorts of crazy oxalates. But her strawberry chia smoothie, she's got a half a cup of frozen strawberries, a quarter cup of frozen raspberries, cauliflower, Brazil nuts, chia seeds, maca powder, beet powder, vanilla extract, ground corn. So she still has a lot of fruit in here.
Yeah.
You know?
I just think that anything that's pulverized is not it's just not natural. Like you would never eat in the wild, you would never eat that many fruits or that many vegetables. It's just pulverized. And I just don't think that's
That's a
good.
valid point. Like that many ingredients at once. Like our
Yeah.
ancestors would have had meat. They
Like
might have had a cougar.
that's why the oxalates are a problem.
Yeah.
The oxalates might be fine if you ate a handful of spinach. Do you know how much spinach it takes to make a green smoothie? I mean, like that's an abnormal amount of spinach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and see her maca smoothies that she does, she has kale in both of them. So she has bananas and she has blueberries, pineapple, depending on which one you're going to make. But then she says she balances it out so that it doesn't spike your blood sugar as much by putting avocado and kale in with it. And so she's really just looking at this strictly from a blood sugar standpoint.
Yeah.
She's not looking at it from oxalates and all these other things that can also cause you to have joint pain and other issues.
Yeah.
So, but
Wow.
so I know she's definitely against the artificial sweeteners, and then she talks too about the natural non-nutritive sweeteners like allulose, monk fruit, and stevia. And the sugar alcohols like erythritol, she said, are better options than sugar or artificial sweeteners. They don't do anything to your blood sugar, but they can trigger the reward pathways in the brain that can drive sugar cravings. They can also cause GI, like bloat and other GI symptoms, especially the sugar alcohol. So she said to use them sparingly and wean to none over time. So I have to admit that when I do drink coffee, which I'm going to back off of now, I do put monk fruit drops in them, and I haven't found that it causes cravings for me, but I don't use it a lot, so I don't know. Maybe that helps.
Well, I
But
definitely put stuff in my coffee also.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just it's one thing that I've kept. I have gone from the worst to the better,
Yeah.
from the
I tolerate the
Splenda
monk
to
fruit
the
drops best.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've never tried those.
I haven't either.
Yeah, I buy them on Amazon. And yeah, so I do tolerate them pretty well. And I don't like stevia because of the aftertaste. And I try not to do the sugar alcohols because the sugar alcohols do upset my gut.
They tear my stomach up. I mean, my gut up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So number 6 is the one that drives me crazy because she says to add fiber to all meals. She claims it slows digestion, promotes microbiome health, and lowers post-meal glucose rises. So from a blood sugar perspective, I'm sure that it does that.
Well, she says they found that on a high fiber diet, the participants experienced a significant drop in LDL cholesterol. I'm just like, because this is the thing, and I hate the fact that it sounds like we're being so, because she does promote people eating whole foods, and she's concerned and she wants to make a difference, and I truly believe that she is. I think she's also on a learning journey. We've also talked about this, because she used to be vegetarian, and she's gotten to the acceptance of the the meats and stuff, meats and animal based fats too. So I think she's just on a journey. But when I saw this about the LDL cholesterol, that kind of surprised me that she would mention that. And I'm
Right.
not
Like
sure
why?
why necessarily, because I sort of considered her, even though she's, she leans more toward the plants than not, but at the same time, I sort of consider her in a sense, because I guess because she's so concerned about glucose maybe and metabolic health, I was still kind of considering her more on, and I hate to say, but like not like our side, but you know what I mean, like more on the, like maybe keto-ish type of side or whatever, or paleo possibly, or something like that. And so to see the thing about the LDL cholesterol, I was like,
I
so did
sense
she
from
still follow
her,
that paradigm, I guess?
right. She's probably going to move closer and closer, especially if she does interviews with people who are more carnivore, the doctors and stuff. She'll probably learn more. I kind of sense from her that she came from, it being a drug pusher and surgeon,
Mhm.
right? To
Yep.
realizing that nutrition is the underlying cause. I think that's the path she's on.
Yeah.
Is like, okay, she's turning now to nutrition,
Yeah.
and I don't think she's quite where she needs to be, but she's getting there. And you know how it is. It's a learning curve, right? Like
It is.
we didn't know all that we know now about LDL cholesterol, and you just slowly over time you start to learn things. So hopefully that's something that she won't worry about too much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that you can completely ignore it, because some people have, some people. I listened to an interview. Kelly Hogan interviewed Dr. Ovadia recently because she had a friend who was carnivore for 5 years and had a heart attack, and it was a really, really great interview. And her LDL cholesterol was like over 500, or total cholesterol was over 500. And he said, he says it probably wasn't her diet that caused her heart attacks, and he said that because she was like almost 70 years old, and she'd been not carnivore for almost 65 years. So, and she
Yeah. She could have
went
had
in.
significant blockages in there before she even started.
Yeah, her CAC score was already elevated before she started carnivore, but the issue is that on carnivore it continued to go up. He said he didn't think it
God.
was her diet. He said that and unfortunately, he said he was shocked that her doctors just ignored and brushed off the fact that it was still going up.
Hmm.
But he said there's other things that can cause it to go up: mold toxicity, heavy metals, chronic inflammation, which you
I
got to
was gonna
figure out
say
what's
any
causing.
inflammatory condition, I would
Mhm.
think could
Right.
cause problems. I mean, even like autoimmune diseases and stuff like that.
Yeah. And he did say that there is rarely, but there are times where people do need to have medication to lower their cholesterol when it's really high. But he said there are other alternatives like colchicine. I think colchicine, he said, was one that would work, but that's not a statin. But that was really interesting. That it definitely recommend listening to that, because it was so enlightening that if you have, he really said, I don't think it's her diet. There's obviously something else going on with her that's causing her CAC scores to rise that the doctors never investigated. And he wasn't even necessarily too concerned about her cholesterol either. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, so she mentioned this study, that people on a high fiber diet, they experience a significant drop in LDL cholesterol, post meal glucose levels, and post meal insulin levels. She didn't say what diet they were being compared to in this study. I'm assuming that it was a low fiber but also high carbohydrate diet. Um,
Yeah.
so I was like, well, they didn't compare it to carnivore or someone on a ketogenic diet. Probably they probably just had a low fiber versus high fiber carb laden diet. So, if you're going to compare high fiber diet to a low fiber carby diet, yeah, the high fiber diet is going to be better for your blood sugar. And I think that's the point she's making.
Yeah.
It's going to slow down the absorption of things, and it's going to prevent the big spikes. So, okay, we got 3 more and then we're done.
Yeah, because I need to get off of here, guys. Let's speed
Okay.
it up a little bit.
All right. Carrie, you want to do the next one?
Okay, so she's got use food adjuncts like vinegar and cinnamon to lower glucose responses. And I've been known to use apple cider vinegar, and I still have a bottle of it in my cabinet. And
I love
periodically,
it.
yeah, I'll take a shot of it in the
Me
mornings.
too.
Not
Me
every
too.
day, but I will. It's like I'll just get this, I need a shot of apple cider vinegar. And I'll just, and I don't know that it helps, but I don't think it hurts. And I
It
like the
always feels
taste
like
of
it
it.
helps my belly. I don't know. I can't
Yeah,
even describe it, but it always, I feel like I'm getting something good out of it.
I
I
do
don't know.
too. I don't know what it is, but it's like when I take that shot, it's almost maybe like maybe if somebody takes a shot of whiskey, possibly. I don't know, but it is just,
It
it
feels
just,
about like a shot of whiskey.
oh, it does when you're gulping it down. And if you're not
Mhm.
careful, it'll like burn like in the back of your throat. I mean, so you have to really just like gulp it down. But I've
Well,
heard
she
that
sounded good.
people, I don't know. I've heard like Dr. Berry, for example, say that there's really not proof that, and then she does say, like, for example, vinegar may modulate the activity of insulin. So it's like, yeah, well, maybe not. But I
It says
do also if
yeah,
I,
it slows down emptying too. It slows down the rate that your food empties out of your stomach, so that slows the glucose absorption.
and then she talks about similar to vinegar, cinnamon may provide improve, gosh, Carrie, glucose levels and insulin sensitivity in people with and without type 2 diabetes. So she
So,
talks about, yeah.
also, don't forget, it says in cell culture studies, the acetic acid in vinegar may also suppress the activity of a class of gut enzymes called disaccharides, which break down sugars for digestion, thereby lowering the total sugar absorbed from the food. Did y'all say
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. So that very well could be.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
I
that could be why we
know.
feel something like we feel good when we.
Yeah, I think that's the key right there is it slows
And
down the absorption of the sugar.
cinnamon's high histamine, so of course I wouldn't do cinnamon.
We don't
I
even
can
have
do
real cinnamon anyway. Like real cinnamon is very, very expensive. What you buy in the store is not actual real cinnamon.
yeah.
Right.
I buy cinnamon sticks. When I used to use cinnamon.
Maybe you're buying real cinnamon. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I used to make steel cut oats back before I was carnivore, and I'd put a cinnamon stick or two in it
Huh.
along with some currants or something and cook it overnight in the crock
I
pot.
bet that was good.
And I bet it was.
Yeah, it was. It was. Okay. So, all right. So number 8 is walk for at least 15 minutes, but after meals. So that can help reduce your blood glucose. I think that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And number 9, drum roll.
Eat
Who wants to do that?
mindfully and with gratitude. Research has shown that by addressing mealtime behaviors and thought patterns while eating, it can change the metabolic response to food. So, mealtime behaviors like paying attention to the sensory and spiritual dimension of food, paying attention to the dining atmosphere, awareness of emotional eating have been shown to be part of the plan that lowers hemoglobin A1C levels over 12 weeks in type 2 diabetics. And just basically, slow down and yeah.
Yeah. That's good advice.
Yeah.
So that ends it on a high note.
Yeah.
All right. We made it through chapter 6. Yay.
Yay! It was a long time coming.
That was a long one.
There was a lot of information in there and a lot of good
Oh, yeah.
discussion too, you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I've really
So
enjoyed
you want to
this.
just tackle one chapter next week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. Oh, sorry. Actually, I'm not going to be around next week. So,
Oh, okay.
So if you guys don't want to do it without me, we'll have to meet in 2 weeks.
We can just do 2 weeks. It looks like chapter 7 is pretty darn long.
Yeah,
But
we
yeah.
might have to do
So,
some
all right,
extra
so
meetings.
Let's
Yeah,
just do
2
2 weeks. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and come check us out on our channels, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.